So we are getting some bird and privilege. I think so we are getting some bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege drug is deadly to a bill. Bird, well, it's important is you have to take it out, but privilege violation can take you out. So we're again getting that as we go along as well. But when we pass a bill, then they will see it in its aggregate and make some
messaging, because that they have to take some of those things out regardless, no matter what you send over. You said you weren't going to send a messaging bill.
No, we're going to send a messaging bill, but we want to be sure that what we send is not birdable or bird bath or privilege scrub. They're the two exercises we're getting engaged, bathing exercises we're engaged in. And we're getting good response. There's no bad answer. It is what it is. There's a certain objectivity to it. It is what it is. Because whatever it is, this is the greatest, monumental, historic piece of legislation that any of us will ever be a part of it.
Did they shoot her plane down or what?
Historic and monumental, she says. That doesn't sound good.
Anytime they're passing something historic and monumental,
although them shooting her plane down would have been historic and monumental.
In a good way, in the best kind of way.
So I saw, I guess she flew there. She's there, right?
I don't know if she's actually there, because she went to somewhere else, and then she was also going to Malaysia, and she's also going to Japan. So I don't know if she's actually in Taiwan. I've been just scrolling through the headlines, and there is nothing in my this morning's headlines that says Nancy Pelosi landed safely in Taiwan. So I don't know.
Man, puddle jumping around Asia like that. I bet your Clyde's jealous.
Definitely. If he was here, he would be telling us how jealous he is.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I saw that she landed in something. I assumed it was a city, and my geography's terrible, and I didn't care enough to look into it. So,
Teresa, she's there. There was a video of her shaking the Taiwanese prime minister's hand. Are we sure that that's the Taiwanese prime minister? I mean, all of those people look alike. Can we really tell who's who over there?
And I mean, if you had a body double, could we even come close to being able to tell?
Maybe it's Nancy Pelosi's body double.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who
She
knows?
seems a little old to be jet setting around. I don't know.
Somebody brought up a very valid question. Why the fuck is she the one who's doing all this? That's the job of the vice president or Secretary of State. This is not what the Speaker of the House does. That's why is all right. We know the reason why. It's because they're going to check out the mines and the lithium mines or whatever, and they're trying to get them chip processors up and running so that
she's gonna put on some coveralls and a headlamp and go on in there.
Well, her husband's got some big stock holdings with NVIDIA and some other big chip processors. So, and I think they bought quite a bit of stock or quite a bit of extra stock in Boeing and Raytheon as well, since she was on her way over there.
It's probably a good call.
She's checking out the semiconductor plants. Like Nancy Pelosi knows anything about a fucking semiconductor. She can't even figure out the difference between a bird bath and scrubbing yourself.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, back in her day, they didn't have no semiconductors.
They bought stock in Intel as well.
Hmm.
I got wrangled into a joke by a Twitter friend, and he had posted that Paul Pelosi was buying 24,000 shares of Archer Daniels Midland ADM, and that China had said that that America was going to pay, and that Nancy said that they were going to, in a hot mic, had said that we're going to pay with rice. And I was like, well, and I said, well, if he did have to drop his NVIDIA stock and some of the other semiconductor like chip stocks, ADM isn't a bad play because the crop reports came out and everything's slightly below the 5-year average. So that's going to bump prices up a little bit going into harvest, which is an unusual position. Usually as you come into harvest, prices start to slump. So you're going to see a little bit of an uptick. So buying stock in ADM isn't a bad play because they're going to see good profits, especially on the front end of the harvest when exports are really heavy. So it's if you're just looking to not lose money after having to bail on your chip processors, then it's not a bad choice. And the guy was like, that's way more in depth than I was wanting any kind of an answer. I was making a joke. I was like, well, terribly sorry. You throw agriculture in there and ask me for a fact check, I'm going to do my due diligence.
Is it too lame to point out the blatant cronyism of but at the same time, it's like, okay, I like chips and semiconductors, so sure, make it happen. But when they're owning so much stock and this and that, and buying some before they try to solve these issues, I don't know, just fuck off.
I also really like chips, especially with salsa. And speaking of, have you seen where all of these Californians are flooding to Mexico City, and it's got all the Mexicans pissed off because they're subverting the culture, and I don't think they're taking all the jobs, but they're just being generally misbehaving. They're all
Americans. Yeah.
Bunch of badass Americans just going to Mexico City.
White.
Apparently, they are buying up all the property, or at least taking out long-term rental contracts on all the good condos and houses and stuff, and just moving.
I'm trying to whitewash it. It's called colonizing, and you know it.
Well, we're not supposed to. And it's probably some sort of a fascist movement in and of itself, because the people who are fleeing from California are not the psycho lefties who love California.
Right.
It's all the people who are fed up with California. So it's all the right-wing fascists. It's definitely some colonization going on there.
Yeah, why don't they want to move to California where they can be free from hate and free from, I don't know, whatever the fuck Gavin Newsom was saying. There's so much freedom here. Free from disease.
I mean, everybody that I know that's gone to Mexico to stay for extended periods of time during all of this is they have either fled from Canada, Chicago, New York, California. They have fled from the most liberal, progressive, psychotic places and gone to Mexico to be free. Magoo says those dag colonizers.
I'm all for that, whatever you got to do, for sure. And I know, hold on, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going here. I have my GPS turned off so I can actually stream this morning. Okay. But yeah, man, I'm all for that. But it's funny because now that you mention it, the people that I know who have done it, and especially the ones who are very it's the best place. It's amazing. It's what everybody should do, kind of thing. Yeah, they're definitely from places like Canada or other horrible states. So that makes sense. I'm like me, like I mean, I'm a Florida boy. I'm like, hey, cool, yeah, go for it. But for now, I'm good here.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's a
But if
lot
I
of
lived
people
in
who
New
are
York
like
City, I get
fleeing from. I don't feel like there's a whole lot of people who are like fleeing from Florida to go hide out in Mexico. Like it's probably you use Mexico as a place that you hide until you can settle yourself in Florida.
Sure. Or if you just have to leave Florida because otherwise you're going on a long vacation or something, then I get that too. I'd rather go to Mexico.
Yeah, that would. Mexico would probably be preferable.
Yeah, it depends on the sentence, I suppose.
Well, I mean, this day and age, like you're not fleeing to Canada. That's
Yeah.
no,
No. I mean,
nobody's going that direction.
it's like it's pretty cold there, but like, yeah, like I feel like it'd be less. I mean, maybe not now, but historically, it'd be less of a cultural shift to go to Canada than Mexico, right? Like I have friends who are Canadian, and they're not that much different from me, right? I've been to Canada, and it wasn't much different from a lot of the cities I've been to here. But yeah, especially now, it's not really a bastion of freedom and security. That's for sure.
Speaking of Canada, did you see there was there was a bunch of like research that was released that showed that all of Trudeau's like not letting people who were not letting unvaccinated people into the country and not letting unvaccinated people travel and all of the stuff that he was doing, like there's actual research and studies that show that none of that was founded on science or facts or anything. It was all well, we already knew
arbitrary.
that, but yeah, it's actually been proven. Like there are even correspondence that shows that like he was advised that it was not it had no benefit, it served no purpose other than to promote his agenda, and so he did it anyway. And not that surprises anybody. Like,
yeah. It's just, I don't know, man. I feel like such a fucking rube or something. Cause I'm just like, how can people like what? Fuck. I don't know, man. It's just crazy. I mean, obviously everybody's motivated by different things, And I mean, hey, man, nobody's ever driven a dump truck of money up to my house and said, hey, go do some terrible thing, and I'll give this to you. So I've never really had the opportunity to, prove that I wouldn't be the same way. But I don't know, man. That's just fucking insane.
I guess it depends on the terrible thing, and what do we classify as a terrible thing? Like remember the movie?
Yeah, subjective.
Remember the movie The Box, and like they come to your house, and they sit the box on the table, and they open it up. They're like, if you push this button, you get $1 million, but somebody somewhere that you don't know dies. I'd be like, is there a limit to how many times I can push this button? Like, yeah.
Do I get any further information? I don't know now.
Or is it going to be like a direct deposit? Like how is this going down? Like, do I have to report this to the IRS? Is it as taxable income, or is this like tax free? Like, I need a few more specifics. I have no qualms about the pushing the button and somebody dying. I need to know like how is this money going to be in my hands before you leave my house?
See, I'd be concerned it's a sting operation. It's like who's the go ahead, have a seat right over there. The pedophile hunter dude. It'd be like him, and as soon as you push the button, it's like the cops rush in and you get charged for murder or something.
But I mean, in that case, somebody has to actually die. So.
Yeah, right. Do I still get the $1 million if it's one of y'all? I don't know you.
Right, then I'm getting a good lawyer because I'm gonna be like, look, y'all are the ones who actually killed the person. I just pushed the button. Like, I had nothing to do with it other than you gave me the option to push a button and get money, and I chose it. Like, I didn't physically kill this person. Y'all did that.
Yeah, entrapment just doesn't exist anymore, which is unfortunate. They can just sting you anyway. Look. Okay, so like, let's say like you're out there and, you're in the game and you're buying and selling drugs and like, whatever, like you get caught, like, okay, like I don't think it should be illegal, but what the fuck ever, like you're in the game, right? And if it happens, it happens. But when they go out and like directly set up like big fake ass stings and like try and lure people in, it's like, come on, dude, like that's not fair. Like you're cheating now. That's not fair. It's kind of like the mafia and like the cops sort of have like these agreements, or look, if you're in the mafia, like you don't kill fucking cops because then it brings heat, and it's like there's parts of the game, like that. You don't fuck with civilians, blah blah blah.
Talking about like setups and shit like that, have you seen? There's been multiple videos that have come out over the last like 6-8 months or so of it'll be undercover cops, like local cops, and undercover FBI agents, and they get into a shootouts with each other and end up killing each other, like staging these like fake set up drug busts to try to catch each other buying and selling drugs, and then they end up shooting each other. And then after they shoot each other, then everybody's like flashing badges, like I'm a cop, I'm cops too. Oh my god, we shot you. What's going on here? Jesus, I mean, like
I want to know what brilliant informant is like feeding information to both them to like get them there, to fight each other. That's space.
I feel like if all the drug dealers would just like take a year off and not do anything, all the cops would kill each other off, and then you could go back to like not having to worry about them. Because
well, the problem is that it's not that the drug dealers can't take a year off; it's that the junkies can't take a year off.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna get it from the cops anyway.
That's true. The cops will just be the new dealers. Do we have
here's your new dealer, same as your old dealer.
Do we have a Mark or a Clyde showing up or anything today?
I thought Clyde was going to be here. He even sent articles that he wanted to talk about. And where is he? I don't know.
I have to go to work, so I don't know what you want to do. I can probably be done in 10 minutes and then be back. So I don't know if you want to vamp or what you want to do. I hate to spring this on you.
No, it's you're not big on the religious stuff anyway, so I can talk about the this MSNBC article that Clyde sent about why America needs a new kind of atheism right now, which I'm almost positive if I read through it a second time, I'm going to be legally retarded. Like I feel like that many brain cells died on the first read through that after the second one, somebody might have to like escort me to work. But I can plow through this because it is that cringy that I can probably get a good 10-15 minutes out of it. And who knows,
all right, dude, yeah.
Maybe I can
usually I can get these installs. Okay, usually I can get these installs done in about 10-15 minutes. So I'll be back as soon as I can. All right.
All right, I'm gonna plow through this thing.
All right, cool, buddy. Good luck. Peace.
No, crack the knuckles. Give me a little swig of coffee. All right. Clyde sent this and then declined to read it and asked me for the abbreviated version of it. Well, you're not getting the abbreviated version of it because it's really poorly written and it's incredibly short. So we're going to plow through the whole thing of why America needs a new kind of atheism right now. I'm glad I'm not the only one who killed brain cells reading this thing. As a matter of fact, Trey, why don't you hop on and we can talk about this thing while we wait for Dag to get back. Why America needs a new kind of atheism right now. An energetic atheism can tackle the twin crises of creeping theocracy and the death of conventional religion. Now, there is a thing that could tackle the death of conventional religion, and that would be to get rid of all this pseudo religion that we have, or New Age religion, and get back to tradition, but or as they call it, conventional religion. There are two pressing crises tied to the state of religion in America today. A new style of atheism can help answer both of them. The first crisis is rooted in an excess of religion. I never would have expected to read that line, but here we are. An excess of religion. Christian theocracy is not far off specter from an emerging reality in America, fueled by a radically reactionary Supreme Court that is 2/3 Catholic.
Yeah, this article was completely insane. Like, I was like, well, like, honestly, this is like Blue Anon level of like,
Right?
of like, like there's like it's the whole, because you know they talked about the Christian nationalism, and like MTG, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was like, yeah, guess what, you know, you want to call me a Christian nationalist? I'm a Christian nationalist, like, because like that's what I actually, you know, like, I believe in Christianity and nationalism, so like, okay, who cares?
Well, I mean, that's
then
the appropriate response. Is if they're going to call call you the name, then lean into it and just embrace it and be like, all right, then fine.
Well, I don't know why people haven't caught on to this sooner. You know, and like the whole like denounce culture. I don't realize why it ever caught on, because it like the bowing and everything. Because if you look at like you know, so what, you know, obviously. You know, I like hip hop, and I like Eminem is my favorite rapper. So, you know, other than his crazy leftist politics, you know, of course. But the like his music is probably my favorite rap music in the history. But he has one song, you know, called, you know, what I am whatever you say I am. And then basically, like, what he's saying, like, I am whatever you say I am. He's saying, like, hey, it doesn't matter what you call me. Like, you know, they call him, like, you know, devil worshiper or whatever, all this kind of stuff. And he was like, you know, who cares? Like, I am whatever you say I am. And that's what the response should be. Like, every time it should just be like, hey, like, I whatever you say, okay. Like, you call me, you know, racist, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, at that point, because you're gonna,
like, on Twitter, I tend to take more of a trolling and humorous approach, but like on Facebook, if I happen to jump in the comment section of a Joe Biden post or some other, like the other 99%, or some like women's rights group or something, like if I happen to jump into the comments on one of those, I'll immediately get called a racist, a misogynist, like all this other stuff. And as soon as they throw the label on me, then I just lean into it and I double down on it, and I just keep coming back to being even more racist, even more misogynistic, even more like the more they call me out on it, the more I just lean into it until I finally piss them off and they block me. So like that's usually my goal, is to, if you're gonna call me that, cool. I can play that card, and I'm gonna play it so hard that you run away screaming, because, and you know, you have to go cry in a corner because you can't deal with just how racist
with words. With words nowadays, like, yeah, like they're scared of the words, and you say that's actually one of the things that like that you know, I like watching this YouTuber Romanian TV. He pokes fun at. He's like, oh, you realize they've given such power to these words. If you just say the power word, like, you know, like the 2 or 3 words that they really hate, if you just said it, like they will never be able to cope, because they've given it such power now that they're like, oh no, you said the power word, you said the magic word, you said the F word about me, you know, or something like that, you know. They give words such power by basically like saying like these are off limits. So it's funny to hear them kind of whenever they get mad about a concept that you're trying to present to them. And that's kind of what this article is. It's like, oh, Christianity, it's such a taboo. So like, if you're a Christian, you know. Sorry, I got a visitor.
Well, I like how like they really hit on all of the
check on
like the mainstream points here. So they bring in the separation of church and state, which I think I did an episode on my
which
own
is fake. Which is fake. Like it's not real.
The way that they portray it is fake. Like if you look at if you look
they
at
act
the
like
establishment
there's
clause and everything else that surrounds the ideas of separation of church and state, like the way they portray it is separation of church and state means that if I'm not religious, I should never have to hear about your religion from anybody, a politician, from you, period, ever. That's the end of it. That's not what the separation of church and state was intended for, or the Establishment Clause, or any of that. It's intended that the state does not sanction or
a religion. Yeah,
right.
we don't say that. We're not like like Saudi or something like that, saying like, hey, we're Sunni or whatever, like Sunni Muslim, like that is our religion. We're not saying stuff like that. Like
and it specifically like their argument specifically ignores history and the founding of the country, because it was the intended purpose of it was to prevent the establishment of the Anglican Church of America effectively. So they start out with the wall of separation between the church and state. Then they talk about overturning of Roe versus Wade because of conservative Christian concepts of life. They go into permitting school officials to publicly pray and making students feel pressured to join. There's nothing.
It's about they're talking about the guy, the coach who basically he was praying on the field, and he would. I think what they're trying to say is that because he basically encouraged them to do that. He said like, hey, students, if you want to like, I would like for you to join me. Like, he didn't make them, but he said like, hey, I would like for you to join me, in prayer at the middle of the field or whatever after the game.
Right. And everything about that is it's a voluntary interaction.
Exchange. Yeah.
Right. There is no establishment of, okay, now prayer in school is a requirement. It's if you want to, you can, and if you don't want to, you don't have to. It's the same that the Carson versus Macon that allows taxpayer dollars to go to fund religious education. That's the way they spin that is that now the state is going to be required to fund religious institutes the same as it does public schools, which is not the way that works. Right. It's if you choose to send your kids to a private Christian school, then your tax dollars get to follow your kid to that school instead of your tax dollars going to the public school that your kids aren't attending, like as it fucking should be.
The whole point of you paying tax dollars to go to these to like for kids to go to school anyway is that the funds, ideally you're paying tax dollars into the system so that whenever you don't have kids, when your kids go to school, then those funds are funding the school that you're where you're at and where your kids are going to. And that's why the school choice thing is like super important, I think, because like then I don't like the idea, like as people have said before, I don't like the idea of having to go cut, like them having to cut you a check out of money you've already paid. But like those dollars following your kid, whether they go to a Christian school or not or whatever, it only makes sense.
So let's see, this next paragraph, they basically just go after their favorite right-wing punching bags.
Yeah, Lauren Boebert and all them.
Basically MTG, and I think the reason they go after them so hard is because they're actually very attractive and they're not like batshit fucking crazy.
Well, they're effective. Like Boebert, she makes she and MTG both make them like kind of they jab at them and they basically get them to like riled up because they don't have any counter to Lauren Boebert or MTG because they can't say like, oh well, you're just like a white cis male. They can't do that kind of stuff. They can't throw those kind of like, oh yeah, you're crotchety old white man or something like that. They can't do that kind of stuff.
And their counter to the two of them is the squad, but the squad is constantly either tripping all over their feet, saying stuff that's completely hypocritical or just blatantly wrong. Like they're kind of they are their own punching bag. So yeah, let's see. The religious right is securing more power in the courts and legislatures, becoming more influential within right-wing culture, but it's not becoming more popular. Instead, there's been an accelerating American drift away from organized religion. Now, see, this is something else that I've talked about, is the reason that there is an accelerating drift away from organized religion is because people are because more traditional Christians are looking at what organized religion has become, as it's become more woke and more progressive and a bastardization of what it was supposed to be. And so people are drifting away from that, not because they're drifting away from religion, but because they're drifting away from what the modern church has become.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a few years ago, Peterson, kind of talked about something. Jordan Peterson talked about how he was, he wouldn't necessarily go to a church, but I think he did, read the Bible and pray and so this kind of stuff. But that was because the churches are so basically destroyed by this kind of stuff. And Aaron McIntyre has a great quote. Like they'll like kill your religion, hollow it out and wear its skin like a trophy. That's basically what's happened. Is the way that these leftists have co-opted it, because what they do is they go in there and they say, well, and this is why the whole gay marriage thing is so like a hot button issue, because the idea of the institution of marriage it goes against the idea of someone being gay, like the institution of marriage. Now the partnership of like the state, recognizing that kind of stuff. That's a different story, because if you wanted to do that, like I guess that's a different. Basically, you need a different class. Like this is not marriage. This is something else, because marriage is a religious sanctioned act. Like basically you're professing this in front of God. And that kind of thing. And that's why like these things are so hot button issue, because like people they don't understand what the connotation and whenever they sanctioned, basically like through the Supreme Court, I think it's Obergefell or whatever, saying that that gay marriage is the law of the land. It's like, well, okay, like you didn't understand what you were saying whenever you're instituting that.
So let's see. It says that they're dropping out of church, and survey data suggests disproportionately likely to be, they're disproportionately likely to be to check out of civic life. That also makes sense. Like the people who are checking out of like mainstream progressive woke religion are moving towards more covenant community type things that are not as mainstream and don't have the like the widespread appeal. That's like that, as it should be. Like that's the way the church is intended to be. It's
small and close knit communities, churches, not these mega churches. Like this is why I hate the big mega churches, because they are the reason why like a lot of this is hollowed out.
Yeah. So then we get into the argument for why I'm gonna close the article because it gets stupid from there. They get into their argument for why a new energetic form of atheism is the solution to that. But like,
which has existed. If you go on Reddit, like all you have to do is go on Reddit. You have the most militant atheists on like Reddit. Like they don't allow any speak of religion in any manner.
Well, and the tone deafness of this article is the fact that is in of itself a religion. Like atheism is their religion, and the militant atheism
it takes faith.
Yeah, it's like they've replaced God with a hate for God, and they've replaced religion with a hate for religion, but it's effectively taking the same place. They just call it something different.
And if you follow like Eric July, his band has a song called "Stay Theist," and basically like a lot of them replace the religion of like having a god. They replace it with the state is God at that point, and that's the bad part about sort of like the new atheist movement.
Yeah, for me personally, I don't think the new atheist movement is really very distinguishable from the new woke progressive Christianity. Like they're effectively the same thing.
Yeah,
they're just approaching it from slightly different.
Well, I've got both the kids, so I'm gonna have to go check them out there. So
thanks for helping me bang through a religious topic.
Catch you guys later. See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.
Speaking of
you know,
banging
it is. I
things,
actually did. Oh, okay.
oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, I actually did read that article this morning, and yeah, it was pretty stupid. But like, the one thing that they kept hammering on, and this is what, like, with the whole, I've probably brought this up before, but like the whole Roe v. Wade thing, the thing that that really has been bugging me, with, like, again, I hate bad arguments on any side, but whenever people equate like that happening to religion, you know, like, oh, because of, and I'm like, it's not like necessarily a religious thing. Like, there's plenty of people I know who, you know, just think it's killing a baby and doesn't have anything to do with because God said so, you know, like even when I was like more agnostic, basically, you know, still basically atheist, but agnostic, you know, because I didn't pretend to know shit. You know, like, I kind of get how some people can be really like anti, you know, especially like the big like Trey was saying, the big mega churches and stuff, you know, a lot of it does get really ridiculous. And you can find yourself being really cynical when maybe, you know, maybe you shouldn't, and saying, yeah, some really silly things, you know. You know, that was me like a decade ago, I guess. But yeah, making a lot of, you know, equations that don't really, you know, match up as what religious people actually think or whatever. So I don't know. The thing's just fucking silly. And that people think, oh, we need some new, like, how do you have like a new, like, intense, like, atheism? Can't you just be atheist and like can't you just like not believe in God and like that's it? Like, what is it that she's asking people to do, you know, like, with their atheism? That's just weird to me. I don't know. I feel like you can just be atheist and that's the end of it. You don't have to be a fucking dick about it.
I've never understood the militant atheist approach of not only do they not believe in God, but they need to like ridicule anybody who does and try to like force you to stop believing. Like, if you're right, just be right. And if I'm wrong, like, if you're right and I'm wrong, then at the end of it, I'm the one who fucked up. What does it matter? Like,
yeah.
I don't like, they are evangelical in the way that they go about being atheists. It's like, this is evangelical atheism. Like,
it's all the shit that you claim to hate about religious people, you know, and you're doing it yourself. You know, when I was in, I guess, college age, I used to go hang out at USF. I never went there, but I used to go hang out at USF, and there was this dude who would go and he'd bring his Bible and his suspenders, and he'd go out and he'd call all the ladies harlots and, you know, tell everyone they're going to hell, and yell at girls for wearing short shorts and this and that. And inevitably, you know, people would start yelling at him and this and that. And inevitably someone would hit him, you know, and I heard he'd sue people. And that was like his like grift, was he'd go around and do this and get someone to hit him and then sue him. I never saw any proof to that, you know, but like I'd see him and, you know, like I didn't like, you know, protest him or anything, but like I'd get like upset about it, you know, and then it's like, who cares? It's like, if nothing else, like, he's just some fucking crazy person, so why am I gonna let it fucking bother me? You know, when we were at Comic-Con this weekend, it was funny, like, when we walked in, there was a person standing on a chair with a gay and trans flag, and they were just standing there. They weren't yelling anything. They were just standing there, you know, with their flag, and like, okay, like, that's one of the 3 types of protests I'm down with: quiet and out of the way. Cool, you know. Then we come out, and there's people with the big signs with, you know, mutilated aborted fetuses and the, you know, all the religious stuff and bull horns, and they're yelling. And there's a couple people there, like, you know, a couple 13-year-old girls yelling back at them. And it's just like all the worst thing. It was like a youth or a Facebook comment section in real life, you know. It's just the worst of both worlds. And like the one dude, he's like, you know, yeah, back when, you know, my life of sin and pot smoking and stuff caused me to abort my son, and now, you know, it's awful and you shouldn't do it. And like, valid points, right? Like, hey man, I did this thing and it really hurt me, and here's why you shouldn't do it, you know. But when you do it through a you know, a megaphone, you know, at a bunch of people, it's, you know, might not get that point across. What if a child is raped or whatever? It's like, okay, like, but right.
With everything, there are
like,
subtle, appropriate ways to go about conveying your message, and
yeah,
you know,
it's like, geez, like, are either of you hoping to change the other one's mind right here? You know, yelling at each other in this public place? I doubt that's gonna happen. You know, it's just so. I don't know. I just wish everyone would just tone the fuck down sometimes.
Well, speaking of changing minds, I think I might have had my mind changed after watching this video. Let's see if these young ladies have any insights into the world or into the universe that we can glean something from.
I worked with a medical intuitive, and she said every time she sees someone with Lyme, it's an intergalactic substance, and it's literally bringing in codes from the beginning of time.
Yes.
I know.
I believe this. This gives me chills down my entire body.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it in those exact words before, but I'm often trying to say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Lyme is a gift.
Yes. Yes.
It is not for the faint of heart,
No.
and it is for the most deeply spiritual people
Yes.
on the planet.
Yes.
So apparently Lyme disease is a deeply spiritual gift from the universe. It's some sort of intergalactic space dust that is here to bless you.
Did they say what this gift is, what it does, that's supposed to be beneficial?
Apparently you have to listen to a podcast to find out. And I
was
just
hoping to avoid that.
I just don't have the bandwidth in my life to listen to two white women talk about Lyme disease. So, it's just.
My dad got Lyme disease, and the doctor thought it was spinal meningitis for like a week. And my stepmom, went home and used Google and was saying for like 5 days, hey, it's Lyme disease. He has Lyme disease. And they're like, shut up. Google is not a doctor. I'm a fucking doctor, okay? And then, like 5 days later, like, so the test came back, he has Lyme disease. Okay, assholes. He was down for a few weeks. He claims he still gets like headaches sometimes. He calls them Lyme disease headaches. I guess they remind him of Lyme disease. I guess he thinks it's a holdover from Lyme disease. I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I don't know. I don't know much about Lyme disease. I'll have to ask him if he feels.
You cut out there for a second.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, he got it from a tick.
And I mean, that's where it comes from, typically.
Yeah.
I mean,
Otherwise handling cat feces, which I don't think he does much. He hates cats as much as I do. At least they're feces.
Leighton says monkeypox is just a gift for your butthole. White women 2022. I mean, I guess if I had to choose between Lyme disease and whatever that like Lone Star that disease that you get from the Lone Star tick where you can't eat red meat, I think I'll take the Lyme disease, because even if it makes me sick, I'm going to continue eating red meat, like till I kill myself. I'm going to keep eating it. You're not going to stop me. Like I've talked about, like we had the weird aftertaste from eating meat right after we had COVID, and like it didn't taste bad, it just tasted weird. And I was like, if this is the new normal, then whatever, fuck it. I'm not going to stop eating. I'm not going to stop eating bacon and steak. Like I'm going to keep eating all of the things that I like. I'll just have to get used to this different taste. And,
COVID made weed taste terrible for me, and I kept smoking.
Man, I went through a spell not long after I got out of college where anything with like tomatoes would give me really bad heartburn, like lasagna and spaghetti, macaroni and tomatoes.
Yeah.
It would give me the worst heartburn, and I did not slow down. I just kept powering through it, and now I don't have that problem anymore. Like I guess my body was like, all right, fuck it, he's not going to quit, so just got to get used to it.
I used to, this is going to sound a little woo-woo, but fuck it. I used to carry, like, my stress, like, in my stomach, like that. Like, I get really bad, like, acid refluxy kind of symptoms, and I used to, like, throw up every morning. Like, every fucking morning I'd throw up. And when I started learning what it was, and, like, that it was related to stress, like I said, like I quit my job. Like, I was managing a stereo shop, and I said, okay, I'm not going to be a manager anymore, and I'm going to go work at a pizza shop with my friends, because the shit sucks. And, like, it stopped. Like, I stopped throwing up, like, it was, like, stress. And one of the reasons, like, I smoked so regularly when I was younger was because it helped that problem, with my stomach. But it was, like, it's weird. It's like that stopped. And I don't know, now my anxiety just comes out in me being an insane person, instead of just throwing up in the morning, like, good American who bottles his stress up inside, you know, is supposed to do. So I don't know.
I feel like a healthy dose of insanity is probably a little more good for you.
If you're at all intelligent, I feel like you should be a little insane in this day and age, right?
You are either intelligent and insane, or a complete midwit and content with everything, or an absolute caveman and also very insane.
Where does a Forrest Gump fall into that? I want to be a Forrest Gump. He seems like he's happy.
Oh, that's like that special kind of stupid. Like,
he hasn't killed any bunnies by petting them too hard, but you know, he's pretty happy.
yeah, like on the on the bell curve of intelligence, he's somewhere on its, like, that's its own designation off the curve. Like, that's the
special case.
It would be kind of nice to have that. Speaking of crazy people, and you know, since we were talking about white women, I'm sure this is a white woman. Girlfriend admits she sabotages her boyfriend's meal prep, and people have opinions. You don't say.
In what way? What she's doing to his food, man.
So when it comes to looking out for someone's best interests, there's practically nothing you wouldn't do. If someone is being harassed or bullied, you can help them handle the problem by speaking with the police. When a loved one is struggling with addiction issues, you can be there for them, offering to get them into a program. But what if the person you love is getting to a point in their life where people may find them too attractive? What would you do? A recent TikTok video content creator, Dazed and Confused, caused quite a stir by adding a special ingredient to her man's meal. She was just having harmless fun, but people were outraged because she added butter to his meals. She thought he was getting too attractive, and so she starts adding butter to his meals to fatten his ass up a little bit. So you gotta.
And as long as he's not lactose intolerant, I'm just laughing about this because I think butter is good for you. So, you know, I don't think butter just makes you fat. So if he's trying to watch his health, maybe she's, you know, my opinion, she might be doing him a solid. I still, you know, tampering with somebody's food is a special level of, like, fucked up. Just because, like, I don't know, I have a right to know what the fuck I'm putting in my body. Especially if I'm specially making meals for myself. Bitch, stay out of my meal. But, well, that's funny. Okay. This wasn't like slowly poisoning him with, you know, I don't know, something else.
What? How slowly can you poison somebody without them building up a tolerance to it? Like, there's got to be a fine line that you dance there.
Yeah, but like I think that like upset housewives have been doing that for like generations. Though I think they finally got it down to a science. Because don't you always hear stories, like especially that show Snapped? Like, didn't they do that kind of thing a lot? Or like Asian women, I hear they'll do that to you. If you piss them off, they'll just poison you to death.
Historically, that's the way women kill people, is poisoning. They don't.
I'll
women
make you
typically
sandwich, motherfucker. How you like it?
Women typically don't like to do the to do the deed in a way that would get their hands dirty, so they use poisoning or some other hands-off type of a method where you just kind of die on your own. They don't have to actually be physically involved in your death.
As long as they get it right and you actually die, it's the smartest and safest way to do it, you know? Why get in there and risk something going awry?
Right, like don't fuck around and outlive, because nobody's coming out of that situation. Like,
yeah, that ain't good for nobody. Especially me, the taxpayer, has to pay to imprison her. If he's being an asshole and beating you, fucking kill him. I don't care. Just do it and be quiet about it. And you know, I'm not gonna send out no investigation. I don't care. You know.
Did we talk about it on an episode? The chick that like fed her boyfriend to an alligator?
Oh, not an episode I was on.
So apparently, this was like in Louisiana somewhere. Like, they had floods and stuff, and So basically, she shot the dude, and then she fed him to an alligator, and then they caught her, and she just played it off like, nah, he just like happened to get tangled up with this alligator and it ate him. But then like they recovered the body, like they got the gator and they recovered the body from the gator, and then they found the gunshot wounds, and it's like, so did the gator shoot him and then eat him? Like, we had some questions here. And there had been some calls for domestic disturbance at the place on a number of occasions, and so it just kind of seemed like it hit the point where the waters came up, the gators came out, and she was like, fuck this dude, I'm out. And
I mean, they digest a little bit slowly. You got to remember that. You know, you got to make sure you give it some time for the forensics to come out. They're like snakes. It takes them a little while. So, you know, let that gator do its work. And then I guess, I don't know what location or exactly where, but like, I feel like you want it to be in a place where there's a lot of gators. They'd have a hard time tracking down the gator. Like, if you just throw it to like the gator in the retention pond on the golf course you live on, they're probably going to find that fucker, you know?
and if I remember correctly, she called the cops about it. Like, she called and reported him missing and said that there were gators around. Like, she put way too much effort into this. Like, just let the dude be gone.
Or you know, like, and I get the wanting to call and report him missing so you don't seem suspicious by like not reporting him missing. But then you can't point them in the direction of the gators, you know, because A, it sounds like you know more than you should, and B, then they're gonna find it. That's the whole point of throwing him eaten by the gators, is he doesn't turn up. That's the whole point. That's why you don't bury somebody. Nothing stays buried, right? That was what they said on Dexter. But of course, we saw that turned out as dumping ground out in the ocean got discovered. So, but anyhow, that's the whole point of feeding him to a gator. There's no evidence.
Right, like, let it settle for a couple weeks, and then be like, hey, so I thought he might just be on a bender or something, but this motherfucker hadn't come back, and I'm starting to get worried. Like, don't.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, my wife isn't listening.
Oh, my wife's already said she's gonna get hogs, and if she ever does, she's just gonna feed me to the hogs. Then all you have to do is get rid of the teeth.
Yeah, that's a good way to go too. Yeah, the hogs. For sure. I said when you do the killing, you beat them with a frozen tuna, and then you eat the tuna, and there goes the evidence, or the murder weapon. You get rid of the murder weapon, you get rid of the body, they got nothing.
We've probably put way too much thought into this I mean, you're the peaceful one. I've never claimed to be peaceful, but
hey man, I'm not a pacifist. All right, I've had to run through some scenarios in my head, you know.
Oh, I wish I had the video. Speaking of pacifists or not being pacifists, did you see the video where Brazil has been having a problem with like these street bikers, like guys on motorcycles, like robbing people and carjacking folks in the streets and stuff, and the police weren't doing anything to control it. So the Brazilian government said, okay, you can kill these people. Like, it won't be held against you if you do whatever is necessary to remove this pox on our society. So that's been that was an interesting montage video of like at least a couple of them looked like they were suckering these guys in and then either shooting them or just straight up running them over. Like, there was one where these two dudes jump off their bike and they jump off their bike and rob these people. And then as they're getting back on their bike, you see a car just come barreling down and bodies go flying through the air. Like, it was impressive. There was one dude that they ran into the two guys on the bike, and the one guy like tries to get up and his leg just went like,
oh,
it was like,
yeah.
oh, he got him good. It was impressive. I probably watched it 6 times in a row, just like, oh man.
So I've got a couple questions and thoughts. first, I just want to say, before anybody accuses me of being a hypocrite after I just went on a rant about sting operations being immoral, that's because I don't think it's because I don't care about people doing business, but people stealing is wrong. So I don't have a problem with people luring them in to then run them over, as long as they do actually snatch the purse. You know what I mean? As long as like he was gonna snatch the purse. No, he's got to snatch the purse first. Then I'm cool with it. But my question here is like, so the government says it's cool to shoot these people, but the cops aren't doing anything about it. Is it like that the government doesn't have any control over the cops? Like, why doesn't the government tell the cops to do something about it? Is it that the cops are just like, fuck it? Is it that there's this disconnect between the cops and whoever this entity of the government is? I'm kind of curious as to what's going on there.
I think it's a little bit of all of that. I think to a large extent the cops are pretty corrupt, and the government is also so like Johnny of Peddling Fiction, like he's talked about being in Mexico and how Mexico has way more laws and rules and restrictions and stuff than the United States does, but it's also like infinitely freer because the Mexican government is such a joke. They don't actually enforce anything. They don't actually do anything about anything. So yeah, they've got all of this stuff that's technically on the books, and if they really want to fuck with you, then they can make your life absolute hell. But as long as you're willing to grease the right palms and not be a dumbass, you can pretty well do whatever the hell you want. So
yeah, all my friends who live in Mexico, all their interactions with the cops have usually ended either in a $20 bribe, right, or saying, fuck you, get your fucking hands off me, I'm a fucking American, and walking away. So, you know, both of those have happened. So yeah, it's like that. Yeah, there is the corruption aspect, right, where palms can be greased, but it's also like a resources thing. Like, because let's say even in the U.S., let's say you're in a country with the best funded police, right? If a dude comes up, snatches your purse, and hauls ass on a motorcycle, what are really the odds they're ever going to catch the guy? You know, did anybody get a license plate? You know, I mean, he's gone, dude. Like, he's probably just fucking gone. So this could even just be like, if the cops are practically very limited onto what they can do on something like that. I'd have to assume things like that are best handled in the fucking moment. You know.
Well, like for them, they don't have the FBI already setting it up where they know who did it before it's done,
right.
And they can go like arrest them within 30 minutes. Like this is actual real crime going on. So.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, hey, dude, I'm cool with it. You know, one thing that I have sort of thought about a lot, and this is, you know, especially still learning this kind of stuff and grappling with things like the non-aggression principle and whatnot. I know, don't re on me, okay? But like with things like, yeah, like where is it like okay to use like force, right? For different things. And one of the things that always comes is like in theft situations. You know, I had seen this video where this dude snatched this woman's purse and she ran him the fuck over, you know, and got her fucking purse back. And, you know, in the comment section, you know, some people are against it, some people are for it, whatever. And to me, I'm kind of like, and I'm not trying to make like a legal judgment here, but just like on a morality standpoint or whatever, I'm kind of like, well, what was in the purse? You know, was it a fucking empty purse that had nothing of value in it? It's like, fuck, whatever, right? But like, was it fucking $5,000 that she had to pay her rent and her bills and everything for all her fucking kids for the next month that was in that purse? You know, because that's kind of like two different things to me too, right? Like if that's the case, that like she needed that to eat, feed her kids, cool, run the motherfucker over, get your shit back, I don't care, you know?
Yeah, you always see the reaction. It's like, oh, that's a bit extreme. It's like, fuck you. Come steal like everything I have on my person and expect me to not be extreme in the way I retaliate. Like,
I mean, look, if I got $2 in my wallet and you come pull a gun on me, here, take my fucking $2. Like, I'm not gonna risk a shootout for that shit. But if I got a couple grand in my wallet, like, that's a different way off. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it depends, you know, it can really matter, you know? But I totally get somebody saying, no, you're not taking my $2. You know, like, that's totally valid too. Risk assessments are different for everyone, I guess.
I worked hard for that $2, by God.
Yeah, I hear you.
Do you
know, and I'm not.
Do you know how long I have to stay on the pole before anybody will actually tip me, much less to get $2 whole? Like, man.
You know how hard it is to wash glitter off, damn it.
That $2 won't even clean my man thong.
Yeah, right. You got to dry clean those, you know.
Oh.
You can't just run that through the regular wash. My delicates don't handle that. Oh, fuck.
Oh, and the banana hammock shrinks all up, and then nothing fits in there right, and then you got things popping out that aren't supposed to be.
And those
Ruins the
person-to-person crimes like that are some of the most dangerous, like, interactions, like, anyhow. So that's when one of those dudes ends up dead, like, it's like, I just, cool. You know, it kind of saves a lot of fucking hassle, you know, in the legal system. You know, it's incidences where there could be okay, like a rape or a child molestation or something. It's like if the dude just gets beat to death with a shovel by the dad when it happens, like when it gets caught, like it's just the best outcome. Because otherwise, then there's a whole fucking court thing, and it's a lot of pain for everyone. It gets drawn out. The guy gets out of prison at some point. You know what I mean? It's like just handle the shit on site.
What was
I
the
probably
guy's
shouldn't be
name?
actively promoting vigilantism, but
What was the guy's name? Gary.
Yeah, I want to say Gary Webb, but that's the drug whistleblower on the CIA. I know who you're talking about, Gary. I think it's Gary. Fuck, what's his name? But yeah, dude, goddamn hero. I mean, he ended up not going to prison, right?
Right. The judge said. The judge said there's no punishment. Like, how am I going to punish him? Like, he's not remorseful for it. He's not gonna have some epiphany that he did something wrong while he's in prison. He's also not a threat to do anything like this ever again, unless somebody else decides to start raping his son. In which case, there's a certain risk assessment that you have to take with your life. And if you know this dude's willing to put a bullet through the first guy's head, do you really want to be the second guy and test that? Like,
yeah.
The judge was basically like, there's nothing we can do to punish him, and he's not a risk to do this ever again. Like, it was a one-off thing. So they gave him
about it.
They gave him time served and for while he was awaiting the trial and everything, and let him go.
I don't know if we talked about it, but like his son, I guess, has come out now. He's like older and said like he doesn't agree with what his dad did or whatever, and that like it was consensual or some shit. And it's like, well, I guess that's kind of the definition of grooming then, huh?
And that's your opinion. And
yeah, I mean, I'm on board. I'm definitely on the dad side on that, for sure. Sorry if you're offended, son, but I killed your inappropriate lover.
Right. It sounds like his son needed to have his ass beat a little bit more in the fatherly way and not in the groomerly way.
When I was like 13, I was at this party with my dad and his friends and people I know. And now that I'm older, I learned that these people we were at the party with, like, they were actually kind of like swingers. It wasn't like a swinger party, like they were, kids there or whatever. But like, it was a party and a lot of drinking, blah, blah, blah. My dad and his friends went kind of hard. And anyhow, there's this woman there, and I don't know how old she was, in her 20s, maybe 30s, I don't know. And she was really fucking drunk. And she was like, I don't want to say hitting on me, but she was like, had like arm around me for like a bit of like the party, would come and talk to me, and like she like grabbed me by like the dick at one point, and I guess my dad like saw or something, and like, of course, maybe at 13, I'm like, cool, but he was about to like beat her ass, dude. It was fucking like crazy, and as a kid, like, I'm fucking embarrassed and shit, and now as like an adult, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that was probably the appropriate response, to something like that. I don't know. Weird scenario, I guess, now that I think back about it.
Well, I think we've all had some weird things happen to us in our lives at one point or another. But we all turned out better for it, maybe. And, at the end of the day, at least we're not a bunch of retards.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.